what's good you guys? So the Flash movie just came out and I went to watch it. I'm going to let you know my thoughts on the film. Before I begin, I just want to say this will be a spoiler-free discussion. I will not spoil the movie for you, so don't worry, you are safe in my hands. Now this Flash film is potentially the last DCEU film that we will ever see, because James Gunn is starting his own DC universe. It's directed by Dres Muschietti, at least I think that's how you pronounce his name. And it's also written by Christina Hodson. Now Christina Hodson has written many big budget films. She has done Bumblebee, Fast and Furious 9, and this is not the first DC film she's writing for. She's also written for Birds of Prey as well. So this is not her first time either. And she's also, done the Batgirl film, which sadly we will never get to see, most likely, which really tragic. Because Brendan Fraser was saying such great stuff about the film, I was really curious to see how they make that film, but sadly we are never going to get it, which is really tragic. And then let's not forget, it stars Ezra Miller as the Flash, which I'll talk about that later. I understand he has a lot of controversy surrounding him, but I did have one big issue which I'll address later, and it's not about his controversies. Also, the Flash is my favorite superhero character in the DC universe, because he has, in my opinion, he has the coolest power in the entire DC universe, among all the superheroes. He can go back in time, he can go to a different dimension. I mean, he literally has the coolest powers. And also, I watched the Flash show, which I really loved. The first 3 seasons at least. Let's all agree that season 5 and season 6 were garbage. I cannot be the only one thinking that. Season 4 was mid, it was okay. Okay, season 1 was really incredible. It was really incredible. Season 2 was solid. Season 3 was pretty good. I'll give it credit for them. Season 4 was, it was normal, it was okay, it was mid, it was average, I guess. And then season 5 when they introduced Barry Allen's daughter, which, I think that was the season they introduced her. Really, things went downhill for me. And then I gave it another chance. I endured the pain of watching season 5 and then got to season 6. And I mainly endured the pain because I cannot stand Barry Allen's daughter. Then we get to season 6 where we are introduced to the 4 elementals, 4 powers, I think that's what they call it, and it was just so unbearably bad that I just had to stop the show halfway. I don't know how season 7, 8 and 9 turned out because I didn't watch them, so who knows how they turned out. Now let's talk about the movie now. Here's the basic plot of the movie, and if you're afraid I might spoil anything, you can just skip the basic plot where I talk about it. But then again, I can promise you I will not spoil anything. The Flash suddenly discovers that he can use his powers to travel back in time. So he decides to travel back to the past and fix things with his mom, save his mom's life. And after that, he deals with the consequences of messing with the timeline. Now let's get to the part where I really like, the things that I really liked. Now the first thing is the fan service. This film is a fan service for DC fans and I absolutely dug that. I loved it. You know how like Spider-Man No Way Home was like a fan service for Spider-Man fans? Yeah, similarly this film was a fan service for the DC fans, not just the fans of the character Flash, but also DC fans in general. The main selling point of this film, if I'm not wrong, is probably Michael Keaton's return as Batman. And let me just confirm it right now, Michael Keaton was amazing in this film, he was really awesome. Supergirl was also really great in this film. There were so many scenes in this film that were inspired from the comics and really loved seeing all those scenes. This movie is a love letter to DC fans and I absolutely loved it. I'm a DC fan myself, I like the shows and the movies they put out. I've never read the comics but I know I've seen panels of it and again, really loved them. The story was pretty solid, I'll give it credit for them. And if you have seen the trailer, if you have not seen the trailer you can skip this small portion. But if you have seen the trailer, you would know that there are 2 Flash in this film. So 2 Barry Allens. And I really like the banter and their conversations with each other, their relationship in this film. It really was really interesting to see. Also, I really like how they represented time in this film. Usually in the Flash show, what happens was that if I'm not mistaken, because it's been a long time since I last saw it, or maybe other time traveling shows, is that this character is here, or maybe this thing that can travel to the future is here, and then it goes past by very fast, and then it just ends up in the future or in the past. But in this film, Barry runs. And then there's this, and then he does end up in the past or the future, but in between there's something that makes this portion really interesting. And I really like how they dealt with time here. It's really an interesting way to deal with it. Andres Muschietti, giving him credit, as well as the writer, credit to them. They come up with something creative here. What happens is that we are able to see what happened during that period of time that he's going to change, and that really adds weight, and it's also very cool to look at, honestly. Now, despite all these great things, I do have some legitimate issues with this film. My biggest issue, remember how I talked about Ezra Miller earlier? My biggest issue wasn't the controversy surrounding him, it was the acting. Like, all the other cast members were doing a great job with the acting, and there's Ezra Miller who needed work with his acting, really. His acting wasn't perfect. I wish his acting could have been better. Then there's the CGI. Okay, the CGI for most of the film was fantastic. I only had CGI for one scene in this film. There was one running scene. Okay, there are multiple running scenes because, you know, he's the Flash and he's going to run and things like that. But there was one running scene in particular at the beginning of the film which the CGI needed a lot of work. That's what I felt. Other than that, every other scene had some excellent CGI. And even though the CGI is fine, I still preferred the Flash running scenes from the show over this movie. And also the other DCEU films. Mainly because in this film, I think like they slowed down to show how the Flash is running fast in real time, which again is okay, but I really prefer how they did it in the Flash show where he's just running fast. And then another thing that I really found annoying when the Flash runs, especially in the DCU films, is that he's flapping his arms like this, and I'm just like, okay, this is very distracting. Can he not do that? Like in the show, he just runs fast and his arms and legs are moving fast, which wasn't distracting at all. But in this, he's like flapping his arms while he's running, and it's just so distracting. He wasn't flapping his arms like this, but I'm just showing because, you know, the camera is very small and I have to show that he's flapping and things, so you get the point. And also there were a couple of plot contrivances in this film. Yes, certain changes in character felt like cheating to me, especially for Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl. And the story took too long to start. The story of the film only starts after the first 30 minutes of the film. Literally. At least that's how I felt it. I wish it started earlier, and if it had started earlier, it would solve the problem of plot contrivances in the film. Overall, pretty solid movie with a lot of problems, but still quite a solid movie and a great fan service for DC fans. So I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10. Oh yeah, and before I forget, there's an end credit scene, so even after you see the credits rolling, still stay seated in your seats because there's going to be an end credit scene. Other than that, I've got nothing else. If you like this video, click the like button if you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. If you want to tell me something, let me know in the comments below. You guys are always the best. Thanks for watching and see you next time.